They don't even know football.
Yeah.
Well, what's just a win that kid with the boyfriend plays with us? She's a singer. I don't know. Then I found out. Then I got intrigued by it. Now I'm looking to see if she shows up at the games.
It's really funny because like partners, when she was like a boyfriend, the girlfriend pretends like they're having a conversation, and then she'll introduce like Travis Kelce as kind of being like secondary to like that Taylor Swift made him famous. But he's been like the best tight end.
Oh yeah.
No. But they're having this conversation and they're like, oh yeah, Taylor Swift put Travis Kelce on the map.
Oh no.
But they do it on purpose. Yeah. They're just kind of doing it.
Yeah, Travis Kelce, he's a stud. I'm sure he's a good player.
What does his brother play?
Philadelphia. He's still too. You know, when they played each other in the Super Bowl, their mom, did you see their mom had a half jersey of it? I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, you know, someone's going to win, someone's going to lose, but you got two kids in there.
And they both have Super Bowl, which is like really cool.
They do know, did you say Okay, yeah, he flies back.
Really?
And the last time they were in the Super Bowl, I heard he sat right over do something. Wow. About it. I just heard it. I don't have evidence, but I heard. Why would somebody make that up?
That's when they lost to the Chiefs.
No.
Oh no! Which one?
No, they won.
Which one was that?
Oh, that must have been. Yeah, they were the underdogs.
Years ago.
Yeah, it was. They came out of the blue. Nobody expected them to. Yeah, they were just kind of dark horses. I remember that. I can't remember who they played.
Well, they had Wentz the whole season, and then he got injured during the semifinals. So for the final game, when they played Tom Brady and the Patriots, Nick Foles subbed in, and he led them to like victory. That's why they were such the kind of underdog.
That's right. Yeah,
for sure.
I remember that.
I'm happy for golf.
Yeah, the way he left here, I mean, they kind of just. I mean, he was a good player, but basically they said he was an idiot. He wasn't smart. I went to Stanford. You gotta have something up there, you know. But he's doing well now. What are they, 7-2 now? I think. 6-2.
They just beat
That's good for the city. Yeah, but Detroit needs another.
Yeah, you know, Detroit. You know, I went to a Detroit game years ago. This is about 4 years ago. It was Tampa Bay and Detroit. We were both in the cellar. And I remember, man, those people in the fans, they were dedicated, but they weren't hopeful.
Like Mets fans.
Yeah, like Mets fans.
They're saying the first game of the season. They're saying wait till next year. The season hasn't started yet.
Same thing with the Giants.
That was my team. I grew up.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You don't have to remember that game, Nick. Is it snowing?
Yeah. Really?
58, I think.
So I've been wanting to go to a game where it snowed. I just
Go to Green Bay, baby.
that's it, and that's. But I hear that snow is just. Yeah, it's just. That's what they tell me. But I just want to be. I just want to be there.
So it's crazy how they'll play under any weather.
Amen.
I played soccer in the snow.
Oh yeah.
New Jersey.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
I remember one time
You get
the Minnesota Vikings were playing. I can't remember where it was.
but yeah,
And Alan Page, right?
No,
Was he one of the good ones defensive?
yeah, again, our outreach
His fingers split.
through the St. Vincent
He
de Paul
actually played.
Society.
Wow. I mean, it was
We're
snowing
very
all the time.
It helped with the blood flow. So it wouldn't show up.
So there was also a game
Okay, good.
where it was snowing, you couldn't see the lines.
Hang on, no.
And they used to use
I'm in the
what
meeting.
they call
Give me that 5 seconds.
trustees to do a lot
Hey,
of
we
work.
have an entire mural now
Trustees are
that
wise
gets
and
the entire
invested.
life of St. Philip.
But they need
And,
trustees in a,
I mean,
you
he's
know,
a real
be
big
more
guy.
independent.
In the religious
This dude has a simple tractor, and he's supposed to clear the lines.
We were created.
I forgot what team it was, and I bet Fred will know it. He's going to kick the field,
Lawrence.
but it's ultimately the guy
And
drives on
St.
the
Philip
field,
and Easy,
clears it for the kicker.
Not smiling.
basically, yeah,
I still remember it.
And
And everybody saying,
he grew up in the,
what are they gonna do to him?
Yeah.
I mean, he's a trustee.
50 years ago in
Put him back in jail? He's just like, but that was really famous, yeah, and the guy kicked it and made it through, man. If I could find the video, I'll send you, it's hilarious. He drives this
Well,
little
no,
factory.
but no, not yet.
There's
No,
all
no,
past
they-
the kick the ball.
we would have been kind of on
Hey,
the
I'll be
other
right
side.
back.
of it,
Okay.
you know, with
All right.
But,
Is that how you guys
but
say
yeah,
it? He ran and followed the beach.
well, he's just a very interesting character because his parents, they had trouble having him, and then they had him, and then even in their time, they put him in the best school that they could find. He was going to be they wanted him to be a doctor. They sent him to Paris to study. Yeah, basically, their oldest child, comes back and he says, "I don't want to do this." Okay, and instead, decides to go or the shower or pepper jack. Yeah, that he's going to just be a monk. But then when the servants found that he had all this education, they were like, "Okay, you got to be a priest." And then they elected him, to be the head of the order. And then, so he then went to try to get the order legalized or whatever, officially approved by the Vatican, which was a very tough thing at that time because popes didn't last very long. Right? There were three families in Rome, and every time one of them got elected, the other two families were inspired to take the other to try to get rid of him. So anyway, by legend, supposedly in there, he was. They said, well, why don't you would you want to be pope? Or whatever, supposedly. I think it was more of a sarcastic thing because he kept going there and then probably rolling his eyes saying, well, so there's no pope again, so now what is this? Well, why don't you be pope? And he said, no. And so at least his iconography is that he's kneeling, looking at a cross, and the people, at his feet to his side that he refused. Anyway, he got it approved, and then he just did typical saintly things or whatever. He was very well liked in the order that food seemed to appear wherever he went. Okay, so that was kind of and of course, as a good say, St. Martin was the first one. That they said, if I saw somebody who was poor, he gave them his mantle or whatever, and this kind of stuff. But anyway, he was well known. It just, actually, as a saint, he's not a bad one because he was basically middle class. He's fairly educated, and, and he did give everything up to basically, for God. He did want to be part of the community, the Servites, and he did. Help the poor. So I guess, sort of as it, so in a way he becomes kind of a good saint to say, that a lot of folks
Yeah.
well, there are miracles associated with this too. Yeah. No, it was funny too. It is legend. He was saying, they said that the part of the thing was that the writer was convinced that he did miracles. Okay, but then he said, but he was so humble that they would always be hidden. So anyway, yeah. So supposedly. Okay, yeah. Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I really, well, with him, I always go to see, that because he was abducted by Irish pirates. And even his name, again, talked about, Patrick was basically the little rich boy, the Christian. I mean, and then, that's exactly, and then he could have, when he got freed, he could have been so angry and so bitter, saying, "You ruined my life. You took away the best years of my life," because his whole young adulthood was basically he was a slave. And instead, he. Well, he got his vengeance on the Irish. He converted them. Oh, yeah, he, you know,
And we
and
didn't
then,
have Roman, we didn't have Roman long, it's, down to us.
well,
We wouldn't have biology or food for months.
Yes, that's
Or
true,
wine.
that's true.
oh, yeah,
That's
yeah,
true.
yeah.
Yeah.
And good, you know, they're good, yeah, oh, yeah, there's a lot of these, you know, yeah, well, anyway, thank you guys, yeah, because there's something,
Thanks for.
I'm not ready.
Very good friend of mine.
Because the vast majority started taking areas.
Yesterday?
And they were from some of the vast they were bad. They started taking
It was awesome.
that wasn't fast. Because you didn't want to sit there.
Okay.
My wife used to go there.
oh, yeah. It's, well, it's,
I grew up very
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
You would have learned it quicker. Good. How's it everything? How's the matador?
It's pretty good. I'm really busy.
I know we're doing our Snoopy project.
Yeah, Thursday night.
I'll be there.
Oh, you will? That's awesome.
Provided it's Thursday.
No, it's coming up, right? Sure it
oh, there you are, what's up, okay.
Yeah. Aiming for all, forget all about that down there.
Yeah. I come from Indiana, I know the weather. Yeah.
Hello, everybody, welcome.
Thank you.
Looks like we're small and mighty today, huh? Everybody's getting ready for the holiday week next week. I can't believe it's already Thanksgiving next weekend. It seems too soon. Well, welcome, everybody. My name is Leanna Fergucci. I'm the board chair of the Fullerton Collaborative, and we're here to join together for our monthly general meeting. We have a lot to go over today, so I am going to get right into our agenda. First on our agenda is we have Mr. Zoot Velasco. He is going to be presenting on the topic of thinking beyond donor dependence, tools for building collective and sustainable impact. I have had the pleasure of knowing Zoot for very many years. He helped me when I had my own business with my mission statement about doing a 501c for the dance studios, giving, and just a wealth of knowledge, amazing advocate for all of your nonprofits, and just a pleasure to have in my life and to know. So without any further ado, Mr. Zoot Velasco.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure knowing you too, all these years. I won't say how many.
It's been a while.
It would date us both. So thank you all for having me as your speaker today. And I'm here to talk about a book that I wrote. This is my third book. It's second book on nonprofit leadership. And I wrote it when I was running the Gianneschi Center at Cal State Fullerton. And part of my mission there was to do research. And it's based on a research project I'm going to tell you all about. So before I get going too far, a little bit about me. I run the Friends of Fullerton College Foundation now. I'm also a professor at Cal Poly in nonprofit leadership and government and corporate leadership. I teach both those certificated courses. I'm a professor at Cal State Fullerton in business and economics for management and marketing. I am also a professor of business at Fullerton College. I host the 501c3 BS podcast. If you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's about all the getting through all the BS in our sector and the reality and truths, because there's a lot of things that people tell us we should do that are not true. And I'll get into some of those actually today. And I've written 3 books. This is my third book. It is a book used by both nonprofits and students who are learning nonprofit management. And there's the QR code if you want to order it online. I have some here that I'll be signing, but let me tell you, the ebook version is half the cost. So it's the ebook version I think is $21 or $22 online. Or no, it's $23 online, and this is $46 online. But I'm selling them today without tax or anything for $40, and I'll take PayPal and Zelle if you want to get one, and I'll sign it here. But you can also buy them online, and this also is the QR code to my website for my consulting side. So if you or your nonprofit is interested in doing any kind of consulting with me, this is where you would go. So you can use your phone for that. I'll leave it there for 10 more seconds for anybody who has not yet gotten their phone out. Okay. The book is called Small to Large, and it's based on a study I did of all the organizations who grew during the Great Recession when everybody was shrinking and what they had in common. And it told some really interesting tales about things that we think of in fundraising that are not correct. So when I say nonprofit, what do you all think of? What are some nonprofits that jump to mind? You can mention your own.
Women's Club of Fullerton.
The what? Okay, so a service club. What else? Okay, so social service organizations, medical organizations trying to cure a disease. What else? Churches. We have Father over here. So churches, synagogues, mosques. Anything else?
Tara's Chance.
Okay, so equine therapy, Tara's Chance, which is a therapeutic organization. So we have so many different types of organizations, and people don't realize how big our sector is. And I bet most of you don't realize that. I'm going to give you some facts now that are going to blow you away. So, by the way, we call ourselves nonprofits, which is the worst thing we could ever call ourselves. My very first episode of 501c3 BS, my podcast, is about the word nonprofits. So we're the only sector in the U.S. economy that defines ourselves by our tax status. Everybody else defines themselves by their goals. But no. Do you think not making a profit is our goal in life? No. So is it the best thing to call ourselves? Officially, we're called public benefit organizations. If you look at our tax status, it's not-for-profit public benefit organizations. The word nonprofit is not really in there, but it is not for profit because that's how we get out of paying taxes, right? But a lot of people call us community benefit organizations. We can also be called social profit, for impact organizations, social impact organizations. Honestly, any of these are better than what we call ourselves, which is nonprofit. People have actually asked me as a consultant, we had some money left over at the end of the year. Do we have to give it away? Because we can't make a profit, right? And that's not true at all. You don't have to give it away. We also call our people that give us money donors. I hate that word as much as nonprofits. they're not donating to us. They're investing in us. And the difference is that a donor is somebody who gives clothes away to Goodwill or gives blood to the blood bank. They're not expecting anything in return. I like to think that those people who give money to us, they expect something in return. They expect community benefit. They expect some kind of impact on the community. And we should show them that with statements every year of what we're doing. We should have an annual report that we release every year that shows what it is we're doing, that shows we're successful with their investment. So I like to say investors or funders. Also, the word executive director is often what we call our chief executive. And that can be misleading too, because in larger nonprofits, they call their senior staff executive directors. So when I'm talking to an executive director, I don't know if they're in charge of the organization or if they're the executive director of fundraising or the executive director of marketing. So I think it's much better if we have a choice, and most of us do, unless we're in a national organization, that we could use the word CEO. Then you know you're talking to the chief executive officer. And boards of directors is kind of a misnomer as well. So up until the 1980s, all of our boards were called boards of trustees. And it was in the 80s that people wanted to get more towards a for-profit business model and started calling them boards of directors. But I really like the term board of trustees better, and I'll tell you why. Because they're not there to direct you as staff. That's not their job. It would be if we were a for-profit entity. But their job is that they are entrusted with a mission, and they're there to protect that mission, which could be protecting them from you if you're trying to embezzle money. But their job is not to direct. Their job is to be entrusted with a mission. And that's why I prefer that. Everything here is a nonprofit, and all of these organizations are in the millions or multi-million-dollar organizations. Yet many of them are national. Some of them are solo. My wife works for Rand Corporation. $400 million a year is their budget, and they're a nonprofit. Anybody here know what Rand Corporation does?
No.
They make all of the research for the government. So if the government wants to do research on how COVID affected students, they hire Rand Corporation to do the research. Churches, synagogues, mosques, as we said. So how big is our impact? We are 11% of the U.S. workforce. Now, just to put that in perspective, that's about the same as people who work for the government. It's about 11% as well. So it's pretty big. We're 15% of California GDP, according to the California Association of Nonprofits. But nationally, we're 22% of GDP. Now, if you put that into context, 22% of the U.S. GDP puts us equal with the third largest country GDP-wise in the world, which is Germany. We're the same size in GDP as the country of Germany, third largest in the world in terms of impact. So what do you think of these things as the largest source of revenue? I'm taking a quick poll. Do you think it's endowment income, individual donations, including foundation grants and major gifts, corporate sponsorship, government grants, or earned revenue? How many say it's endowment? Anybody? How many say individual donations? It's about a third of the room. How many say corporate sponsorship? How many say government grants? That's about a quarter of the room. How many say earned income? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 people. Okay, get ready. Drum roll, please. It's earned income. Yes, and this is where I blow your mind. Because earned income in the United States of all nonprofits nationally is 72. It's actually 72%. This is a typo. 72% of everything that we make nationally is earned income. And yet, we spent almost all of our time and all of our money and all of our energy on major donors, grants, fundraising events. Yes.
Could you describe or define?
Oh, I'm going to.
Oh, okay.
So my point is that everything that we focus on in fundraising is backwards. We start with major gifts and grants, And we end with major gifts and grants. What we should be looking at is major gifts and grants as seed money for earned income that are sustainable sources, and then we don't have to look for those same grants and major donors for the next round, because it will sustain itself once it becomes earned income. And we should be looking at that more sustainable model. So this is a revenue, this is all the nonprofit revenue across the country for 2014. And there's a reason why this is so old, because in 2015, they stopped tracking earned income. Do you know why?
No.
Do you know who pays for this? Fundraisers. AFP and the people who hire people to, I hate to say prey upon us as fundraisers, but they kind of do sometimes. People who make their living only looking at us as sources of fundraising. For example, there are people who go around and they do auctions for us. And then they'll keep sometimes as much as 70% of what's generated in that auction. There's people who do grant writing for us, and they're great people and they know grants and it's a good thing, but we look at them as the end all of everything. We should be looking at them as a starting point for other things. But yes, in 2015, they changed this model with the Center for, the National Center for Charitable Statistics of the Urban Institute. And now they don't call it nonprofit revenue anymore. You know what they call it? They call it nonprofit donations. They took revenue out, even though the majority of our revenue is not donations. So 50% comes from fees for goods and services, 23%, so it is 73%. The slide was right. Okay, 23% comes from government contracts. There are organizations that make 100% of their money off of government contracts. Most social service organizations make the majority of their money from government contracts, because if that social service organization wasn't there to do that work, like domestic violence shelters or homeless shelters, who would do it? The government would have to do it, and it would cost them 3 times as much to do it. That means your taxes would go up 3 times for the money that they spend. But they could do it 1/3 cheaper by having us do it. And that's where government contracts come in. And if I were a libertarian, I would want much more contracts to go out to nonprofits, because it's going to save a lot of tax money if the nonprofits are doing that work rather than the government doing it. And that's what happens. So when you put these two together, both of these are earned income streams. Now, government grants and government contracts are not the same thing. So I'll explain that. A grant is something you're allowed to get usually for 1 to 3 years, and then you can't write that grant anymore. A contract is something you can get forever, because you're doing a service the government would have to do if you weren't there to do it. So contracts are earned income. Grants are donated income, because they're donating money to you because you got the grant. Whereas a contract, they're giving the money to you for a service. It's a fee for service. So you guys understand the difference. That's really important. Okay, so there's a lot of things we believe and grown up believing that are not true. Napoleon was not short. Just so you know, he was average height for his size. He was 5'7". It's a lie. Bulls do not see the color red, they're colorblind. Washington had no wooden teeth ever. His teeth were dentures, but they were made of human teeth. Look it up, people. Touching toes does not give you warts, and nonprofits do not thrive on big donors, grants, and galas. None of those things are true. By the way, I did a side study on galas. I studied 100 organizations at random, and only 3% of them made money on their galas, because 97% of them never counted their staff time. And if they counted their staff time in the cost of that gala, their gala would be a lot more expensive. But most of them made 30% without counting their staff time. So unless you're an all-volunteer organization, you're probably not making money off of galas. And even the people who made money, the 3% who made money, it was never more than 10% of their income. So they're spending a lot of time And there's a cost benefit analysis you can do of how much time you spend on your gala where you could be getting more money doing another kind of fundraising that's more effective. So I did this book based on a research project about who grew during the Great Recession and why. So a little background, I used to run the Muckenthaler Cultural Center for almost a decade. That was my first job in Fullerton. And I took over in 2007 and it was about to go into bankruptcy. And for those who don't know, the Muckenthaler is on city property. It's owned by the city, but it's run by a nonprofit. And that started during the Orange County bankruptcy back in, was it mid-90s, late 90s? So when I took over, it was about to go under and revert back to the city. And we grew from 400,000 budget that was underwater to $1.6 million budget during the recession. We grew 400%. And a lot of people ask me how we did it. I wrote my first book about that. That led to me teaching on the college level about nonprofit management. A lot of good things for me came out of that. But I wanted to see when I got this job at the Gianeschi Center, who else grew during the recession? What do we all have in common? So I looked at all of the organizations in Orange County in the Inland Empire. Why? Because when you take Riverside, San Bernardino, and Orange County and put them together, those three counties demographically look exactly like the United States. Think about it. Orange County is the East Coast and the West Coast, and Riverside and San Bernardino County are the flyover states. You know, which that's what I guess Democrats call them, right? The flyover states. But basically, when you look at it, they're very similar. The only difference demographically is we have a slightly higher Asian population than the United States as a whole. But otherwise, red state, blue state, you know, whether you're talking about politics or the demographics of race or the demographics of poverty, we look exactly like the US. So there's 6,450 organizations that are headquartered in those three counties. Now, keep in mind, I'm talking about organizations headquartered there. So there's some national organizations that aren't counted in here because they're not headquartered there. But these are all the organizations headquartered there. $13.5 billion a year back in 2008 to 2012. It's a lot of money coming through those three counties, and most of it Orange County. 46% of income went to just 4 hospitals. Think about that. 46%, almost half of all the income of that 13.5 billion goes to just 4 hospitals. So if you don't think our healthcare is broken in America, think about that. 94% of the income went to organizations over $1 million, of which there were only, oh shoot, it's not working. I think it's something like it's less than 20% of organizations are over $1 million, but they get 94% of the income. Actually, I have another chart. This is better. 11% are over $1 million, but they bring in 94% of the income. 74% of organizations are under $200,000, and they bring in 3% of the income. But this group here is what interests me. These are the organizations that started small and are in the process of growing to over $1 million. And those are the ones I wanted to see how they did it, because it's very hard to get from here to here. And the 29 organizations I profile in my book are all organizations that did that, including some members of this collaborative. Solidarity is one of the recession stars. They went from $150,000 to $1 million during the recession, a year. Anybody from Solidarity here today? No? They're usually here. I was kind of hoping they'd be here to take some credit. They could take a bow. Okay, the first finding is that very few organizations excelled during the Great Recession. So if you look at all 6,450 organizations, you could see only 3.2 grew by over 100%. And of that, 207 organizations that grew, only 29 of them started small and grew larger. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in a minute. The majority of the organizations that grew during the recession were not able to maintain it. So this is this was really interesting to me, is that more than, I don't know why this is doing this. It doesn't do it on my computer. It must be something in the switch. More than half of the organizations that grew during the Great Recession, they got like a big check from a big donor or whatever, but they weren't able to maintain it. And half of them went back down to the size they were before the recession. Another large percentage here, they grew during the Great Recession and then went completely out of business. Only this group here, which is the 29 organizations that I profile in my book, started small, grew to large, and not only maintained it, but continued to grow after the recession. One of them grew by 1,800%. The smallest organization grew by 300%. So they all did well. And then there's a small group of organizations that started large to begin with. 7% of the organizations that grew during the recession started large to begin with. So they didn't have a lot. I was surprised there weren't more, honestly, because they have all the infrastructure to grow. The third thing I found out is that they weren't a monolith. They were all over the map. We had everything you could imagine, from social service to animal shelters to youth education, after school, youth sports program, historic arts, you name it, veterans. We even had a CB club that grew during the Great Recession. Who uses CBs anymore? The fourth thing that we found out was that every single one of the 29 organizations that I interviewed and studied, all of them had had some kind of leadership training at some point, whether it was through a church or a whole full-blown MBA program. They all had some kind of leadership program at some point. And then the fifth one is that when I asked the 29 organizations, what is it that made you successful at a time when nobody was successful? Every single one of them, their answer, the very first answer they said, everyone, I kid you not, the first thing they said was strategic partnerships. It is because of our strategic partnerships. And then they would go on to tell me stories of that. And the fact of the matter is that strategic partnerships are created by doing what you're doing today. It's belonging to a collaborative. It's the best thing you can do to grow. Better than hiring any fundraisers is belong to a collaborative first and foremost. This is when I go do consulting for organizations and they're in deep crap. What they always express to me is what I call the pyramid of doom. It's where they say, "Oh, we had this idea for this need, and we got all of our money together, and we started doing it." And by we, I mean I, because I didn't really have a lot of help, and I did it. And if I could only get the funding, we could do the work to address that need. That's all we need is the funding. And I'd say, well, have you taken advantage of any of the free programs that might, people might come help you, like students or seniors who are, have you tried volunteer centers? And they're like, oh, no, we had a couple people come by and they didn't want to do it my way. And so we got rid of that. And then I could kind of see, okay, I kind of see where you're at now. And they never grew because they were always waiting for money. When money came in, they would do the work and they had to do it my way. And in some cases I would say, do you realize that there's, like, it would be a dance company. I'd say, you realize there's another dance company 2 blocks away that's doing the exact same thing you're doing and they're really well funded? Yeah, but I don't like her. And I don't like the way she's doing things. That's why I want to do my own stuff. And I said, well, why would funders leave her, who they like, and come to you? And they couldn't answer that. But that's the problem, the pyramid of doom. All the people in my book did what I call the 7 steps to success. They identify a need. They gather people together through things like this. Deborah is doing this right now as we speak. Her and Victoria Torres from Samueli Foundation got together and said, wouldn't it be great if Fullerton had a foundation, like a community foundation, like Anaheim does, where we could fund some of the things that there's not money to do in the budget. And they gather people together, and we're figuring that out right now. But that's what they do. They gather people together, then they figure out how to lead, they formulate a plan, They do the work, they tell everybody about it. As soon as they tell everybody about the great success they had, then other people want to help them, they grow, and then it starts all over again. And it's a cycle, it really is a cycle. Because if we create a Fullerton Community Foundation and it's successful in any way, shape, or form, then there's going to be another project for it, and then another project. It's going to get bigger and bigger, and it's going to go through this each and every time. So networking is the best thing you can do for fund development. And I love this picture because these ants, if they were 6 foot tall adults, that's about a 40-foot gap that they have figured out by climbing on each other to bridge. And we could do that. We can all do that. But it takes gathering friends and family and working together and making it happen. One of the things you can do to do this, and there's an appendix of it in the book, is create a strategic planning map. Strategic partnership map, where you can identify who would be good partners for you based on what your needs are. And you can get a lot of things done without any money changing hands through strategic partnerships. And a great example of that is Solidarity. When Solidarity started out, they had $150,000. And they were working in a neighborhood in their own city, but they'd never really been to it before. They were wealthier people of color that were from a church, and they didn't really like the way the people in their church talked about the poor. They felt like they didn't respect them. And they wanted to have a different approach. So they moved to the other side of the tracks of Fullerton. They told me stories. Tommy told me stories about the first time he saw roaches in his apartment, because he didn't grow up with roaches. And they went out and they wanted to help, and they found out the city, because it was 2008, the city was cutting the park's summer programs for the kids. So the summer camp for the kids was being cut. So they said, well, how can we get a summer camp? And they went out and they gathered friends and they led a summer camp, and it was successful. And that success brought in the money and the power to do more. And that led to people who donated things for that summer camp, including screen printing inks and the know-how to do screen printing. And that led to Solid Tees, their screen printing business, which, by the way, ended up making $400,000 a year, and they sold it to the kids that they trained to run it. So the kids now own that screen printing business. Yeah. Solidarity is an amazing model, and they're in the book. So what are your networks? Where are the networks that you can go out and find strategic partnerships? Service clubs is a great one. I'm a member of Rotary. It's definitely my top 1 or 2 networks of all time. The collaborative, this collaborative is in that top 2 as well. Chambers of commerce, mission-based collaboratives of your own, and community-based collaboratives. So sometimes people collaborate by geography, but you may belong to other collaboratives that are based on your industry. So there might be a homeless collaborative or a youth collaborative. And then online, social media, crowdfunding, crowdsourcing, e-blast, all of that stuff. There's a great theory in chemistry about structural holes, where if these are molecules and this molecule, this cell connects different molecules together, this becomes a much stronger cell, and this is the strongest cell, a stronger molecule, and this is the strongest cell in the molecule. Same thing happens when we do networking. If I belong to Rotary, and I belong to the Fullerton Collaborative, and I belong to several other things, and I connect them all together, I can find out where there's redundancies and get rid of that. I can help them become stronger as a group. And if I'm the one doing that, that makes me one of the most strong and powerful people in the group. And that really can make you more known and more powerful within your community, and makes your organization the same. So that's the theory of structural holes. The 6th finding was that the recession stars grew without any large donors or professional fundraising. Now, I know you think, wow, that's really hard to believe, but 69% of them grew entirely on earned income without any fundraising. So again, sorry that this computer didn't pick up all my stuff, but basically, if you look at it, it's about 25%. 1/4 of them grew completely on social enterprise. For example, Solid Tees and Solidarity. 1/4 grew completely on government contracts. 1/4 grew completely on fees for service. So an example of that is there's a soccer organization that AYSO soccer organization, and they serve the undocumented. So they're never going to get a government grant. They're never going to get any kind of help from the broader community. But they were so good at what they did that when 2008 came and other AYSO sports organizations were failing, the parents were coming to them because they kept hearing how good they were. And they ended up picking up all of the failure organizations' parents, and they grew and grew and grew and grew, only on fees for service. Because the only thing they were making money on was the parents were paying for their kids' uniforms and soccer balls and whatever they were giving them. Memberships. So what was missing is that oh, by the way, and the last 25% were more traditional organizations. They may have had a fundraiser. Some of them did, some didn't. But fundraising wasn't what they grew on during the Great Recession. They grew on their earned income streams, like if they had a thrift shop or if they had, some other form of income. No, there was no large focus on fundraising. There was no focus on exterior help outside their community, and no focus on self-produced events. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's important to have self-produced events, but not the big gala. It's better to have a lot of small events throughout the year than to have one big one, and to have different people in charge of those different events so that you don't burn out the staff. Another thing is it's important and it's a good thing to have general fundraising. I mean, every organization here should be doing an annual campaign twice a year. Everybody, this is like free money. Everybody here should, if you're going to write grants, it's great to have a grant writer. I'm not saying not to hire fundraisers. I'm just saying it shouldn't be the overall focus of everything we do. Here are all the different sources of money that we use. Individual, corporate, foundation grants, government grants, et cetera, et cetera. The ones in purple are your earned income streams. And most people, their largest earned income streams are government contracts if you're a certain kind of organization, dues and memberships if you're a different kind of organization. Very few make their whole money on endowments, but there are some that got a huge endowment and they can do that. Fees for service. So I ran the Muckenthaler. Most of our money came from fees for service, tickets to events, right? And the more that we could develop our audience, the more successful we became. But we also had a social enterprise wedding business with Colette's Catering, and that brought in $500,000 a year. And we had a mission-based social enterprise with STEAM programs. We did the first STEAM programs in Orange County, and that brought in $600,000 a year. We were at 48 different sites at our height, doing STEAM programs under different government contracts. So all of those are different sources of earned income, and that's where we ended up growing so much, was on that earned income stream. So these are some of the examples in the book of the recession stars, organizations that grew during the Great Recession. I ran the Muckenthaler. We talked a little bit about Solidarity. How many of you have heard of Charitable Ventures? Charitable Ventures makes their living by helping new organizations become incubated. They're incubators. And they went from, they started out at $150,000, which seems to be where most organizations started out, because that's what you can get from your friends and family. And they today are a $12 million a year organization. It's crazy how much they've grown. Boys and Girls Club Central Coast. They started out as the Boys and Girls Club Santa Ana with one site. They have 52 sites now. And Cure to Shame, this is a really interesting tale. Cure to Shame is about curing a disease that only affects a very, very small amount of boys, only boys in their teenage years, and it's completely debilitating. If you're a boy and you have the gene for this, about the time you're 12, you start to have problems. By the time you're 15, you're in a wheelchair and you can't move. It's incredibly debilitating. It affects 1 in 3,000 boys. The mom of one of these boys reached out and started a network of all the moms. and they put together events across the country, lots of small events across the country. They took that money, and instead of, on advice from a friend, instead of giving that money to researchers, they had pitch meetings from researchers, and they treated it like Shark Tank. They became venture philanthropists. So they picked the research they thought would do the best, and they invested in it. And that means that they get a return on their investment if it goes big. One of them went big and is now not a cure, but a medicine for this disease. And they get a portion of that every time it's sold. So now they never have to do a fundraiser again. They can live off of that. And they're doing it with other venture philanthropy, with other research now. So really interesting models here. These two, this is a foster care agency in the Inland Empire, and this is a school for people with developmental disabilities. And both of them grew on government contracts. So you can read all about it in the book. What would be your earned income stream? Think about it. And then who would be your strategic partners? Those are the two questions I want to leave you with. What would be your earned income stream? Who would be your partners? So you can turn nonprofit into for impact. If you need any help, you can contact me. This is my QR code again for my website. And you can buy a book online. You can buy a book here, and I'll sign it for you. And that's my presentation. Are there any questions?
Wonderful. Any questions?
Yes, in the back.
I
Yes.
have a quick question. So what motivates a small company, like, for example, a little radio that works on people donations on the radio, not to be and no profit or, social community service type of entity?
You mean if somebody wants to give money away? Is that what you're asking?
No, I was just thinking, so what would be the motivation to be in a nonprofit versus a small organization that is not nonprofit, but still earns through people donation?
Can you repeat the question for?
People support.
Yeah, so I think what you're asking is, why be a nonprofit social enterprise as opposed to a for-profit social enterprise? Is that what you're asking? So you can be both. Social enterprise is any kind of organization that gives back to the community. And a for-profit one has two bottom lines. They have a bottom line of profit and a bottom line of giving back. Whereas a nonprofit only has one bottom line, and that's giving back. So there's no reason you can't do either. Some could make the case that a nonprofit, because they only have one bottom line, that's what they're focused on, and that would be a more effective route. Other people could say, but if you're making a profit, you have more money to give, and then you could do more with it. So there's certainly, you could debate both sides of that. But if you're a nonprofit, you have a nonprofit board, you register with the IRS, people get a tax donation if they donate to you. But in terms of the earned income side, they're both viable. Does that answer your question? Any other questions? Yes.
I'm so confused about the earned income.
Yes.
I mean, can every nonprofit generate the earned income? Because
Not only can they, but they all do.
well, I don't mean, like, what do you mean by earned income? Like,
All of these purple things are earned income. So if you ever had a fundraiser event, that's earned income, because you're making money off of that event, right?
But in my mind, when I'm thinking of earned income, I'm thinking of like charging for services or.
Yes, that's what earned income is. So if I come to your fundraiser and I have to pay $50 a ticket, that's earned income, because I'm paying to go. If I have a ticket for a show at the Muckenthaler and I run the Muckenthaler, that's earned income. If I have a membership to the Muckenthaler, that's earned income. Every single organization in here could have a membership if they wanted to. If I have an endowment, the money I make on that endowment is earned income. So all of these purple are earned income. Vendor sales would be like if you had a t-shirt saying, cure Alzheimer's, that would be earned income on that t-shirt. Okay? Any other questions? Is that clear? Does that help?
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you all. I have books here at the end. Feel free to come up if you want to sign book. I take PayPal, I take Zelle. I take cash. Thank you.
Very, very amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, and Zoot just so happened to touch upon the relationship that we are have started with the Samueli Foundation with the Fullerton Collaborative. And just this last few months, the Fullerton Collaborative Board voted to approve a task force within the board with some board members and community stakeholders and the representative from the Samueli Foundation to start a task force with a discussion around having a Fullerton Community Foundation. And I want to say the task force has had about, 8 meetings? Is that about right?
Like 5 or 6.
5 or 6, okay. And so we're gonna have Debbie, our executive director, and Mr. David D. Leon, who's been a part of the task force, give us an update on what that conversation is looking like. And just to present to you some updates and what the discussions are going. Nothing is set in stone, it's all in discovery, but we just wanna keep you in the know with the conversation. So here we go.
Okay. So we are very hopeful and excited to share with you today. The Fullerton Collaborative, in partnership with other organizations, is going to launch, looking at launching the Fullerton Community Foundation. So within the Community Foundation, our hope is to be able to support citywide events that are events that we have seen in the past, but we're not able to currently see. So we're going to help support the city and also help support you as a nonprofit, or as not a nonprofit, but as an organization that would want to receive funds for the city. So our goal is to bring in funds for the city. And so we are looking at different avenues and different ways of going about doing that. So we have a meeting, we have a fantastic group that is trying to figure it all out. And we wanted to launch, and actually are launching, supporting the city of Fullerton with First Night. So First Night Fullerton, if you have been a part of that in the past, it's been a fantastic family event. And they are planning on doing that event again. And so the Fullerton Collaborative is going to reach out to our members, out to the community members, for those that would like to support an event like the city of Fullerton's First Night, and we'll be able to utilize the collaborative to kind of funnel that money throughout. We're talking more? I'll put out the website.
Okay, so, Zoot in his presentation, I tell you, I didn't realize, I've known Zoot for a long time, and I knew he was really good at what he did. I tell you, you're much better than I thought. I mean, you're pretty incredible. Yeah. I'm impressed. But the idea is that, there's a lot of resources within the community, and we really need to take advantage of the opportunity, because this collaborative, as Zoot mentioned, and as we know, is really leveraging each other to focus on a similar goal. And so part of pulling together a group of people that know that there are events that used to happen here and have not happened for a variety of reasons, as was mentioned, and we know many times, those events are important to the community because that's what builds community. And essentially that's what the collaborative does, is build community. And so part of the idea behind getting behind a foundation was because, we thought it was good, but most importantly is that, we're working with some pretty well disciplined as well as informed people that are part of that group. Victoria, who's not, I don't think she's here right now, but she is part of a larger organization, the Samueli Foundation, and she was instrumental with Arnell and Zoot and Brett Ackerman, who are all part of this group, and we've been discussing it. And so, as opposed to going out and establishing an additional nonprofit, a new nonprofit, a 501c3, it was best approached by making it another program within the collaborative, and that's what we've done. So we're not going to be creating this new nonprofit; it's actually coming under the collaborative, and the idea is that this task force is pulling these things together to be able to make it happen. And so what we have up here is the first iteration of what we see as what the foundation is. And as you can see here, and it has a really good donate button. The nice thing about this First Night is we're going to do a match. We already have $5,000. And so part of what we're doing is we're going to be calling out to the community, anyone here, to make a donation. I'll be making a donation today because it's being launched today. And by going out and just matching that means that there's $10,000 that's going to be going towards first night. How many of you know how many of you experienced first night? Okay, for those of you who haven't, it is a safe environment to be able to celebrate the New Year's celebration here in downtown Fullerton. And really, I think that it's a good example of what building community is really like, because people they don't all drive here, they actually walk here. And as it starts to get into the evening hours, the restaurants are full, the streets are closed down, Harbor Boulevard is closed down, as well as some of the side streets there. And there's a lot of activity, safe activity that is happening.
Can I just say a little bit more about first night? Because if you've never been, so first night started because a lot of bars are downtown. And on New Year's Eve, sometimes things were getting out of hand. There'd be fights, there'd be problems. And they wanted to close down Harbor Boulevard and have a police presence there, but not be intimidating. And they thought, why not create a alcohol-free thing on the streets with all kinds of bands and things, and then we'll also have the police presence there to kind of police the bars easier as well. And it worked really, really well. So there's, I think, 3 stages, where they'll have like oldies on one stage, real oldies on another stage, country, hip hop and stuff.
Extremely family friendly.
Yeah,
Yes.
Very family friendly. There's no alcohol served. All the streets are closed. So you can walk around without worrying about being hit by drunk drivers. There's a big police presence, so it's a great, safe way to celebrate. But the city doesn't have the money to do it as they have in the past. So that's why we're looking at supplementing, make sure it happens, because the alternative is just not good. If we don't have first night, it wouldn't be a good alternative. And it's such a great family-friendly community event.
So real quick, and then I'll turn it back over to you. This is just one of many events that are going to be happening over the course of the year. It's the first launch. And so we're really hoping that you will, first, when this is sent out to you, that you will look at it and you have the resources, you can donate towards it. If not, share it to someone else that could, because we really want to be able to show some support and be able to make this happen. Because again, as Zoot just mentioned, it's a very safe environment. It's very family friendly. And when we lost it, I'll tell you, I was really disappointed. I came for many years, and it was just a sad day for the city. And we're hoping that it will rekindle itself and be prominent for many years.
Absolutely. And so, and to add to that, we are collecting the donations to match our $5,000. We also know that the city is, and also the Chamber of Commerce is doing business and organization. So we're partnering together to make this a successful event as well. So we're excited to launch. We are also wanting to just reach out to you to find out what your needs are, because we're not trying to take away from you. Our idea is also to be able to funnel, have a site, say, I want to donate to the art program, and these are the programs that we can donate to. They can click on your link and say, okay, we want to donate to the Historic Foundation. Or I want to give to after schools and tutoring. Oh, who provides that? Who are the organizations within the collaborative, and be able to donate directly to your organization as well. So our hope is to be broad and be able to support all of the work, the fabulous work that we're doing in the city of Fullerton. So with that, yes.
That's a good question. Just so I understand it, so that because the city can't afford to do this, you guys are going to be helping to supplement it? The city is still using some of their funds also to do first night, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, there's no way you can put it on for $10,000.
No.
And that's what I'm trying to figure out. The
Yeah.
city is helping with funds, you guys are helping with funds.
Businesses, organizations, we're going to try to all come together collectively to help support these programs like First Night, the fireworks, all of these things that we have had in the past that we want to bring back. And I know that there's individuals that want to have it, and so this is an avenue for us to support.
And I know some people feel like, and I'm gonna speak for myself, on our water bill, right? You can donate on there. And I know a lot of people who do not donate on there anymore because they feel like the funds are being mismanaged. So they might donate to this, if they feel comfortable that this is being managed properly, right? Versus like to the other entity, directly to the city, where we were giving actually for a couple of years, and those events weren't still happening. It still said give to fireworks. You're like, what fireworks? So that might be that is a good solution to people who are, I want these events. I don't trust this entity to do it properly or at all. but maybe, you guys helping to supplement. So it's good.
And we're
Because when
working
mentioned
together
people
with them.
used to donate to the city that don't anymore, if they don't feel comfortable giving.
And we're help supporting
Yeah.
however we can.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So with that, we need to move on to our committee reports.
Yes.
David, you're the first up anyway to talk about next year.
Next gen.
If anybody has to go and you want to buy a book, feel free to come up and quietly buy a book while this is going on.
Multitask.
By 30.
So real quick, on next gen, so we've, as we mentioned, we talked about forming a youth committee. We actually met with the city, because they already have, an ordinance that calls for a youth commission, of which we want to change it to a youth committee and much more flexibility. We met with the city. We just drafted a proposed, idea, and it's been run through the committee and is now going to go to the deputy city manager for that review, and they plan to take it before the city council. As you know, city council, this was a city council initiative that was approved by the city council, and because we're asking for a change in terms of how it's formed and what the guidelines are, it has to go back to city council, and hopefully we anticipate sometime by the end of the year or first of next year that it'll go before city council. Once that happens, and hopefully it's approved, then we'll be very active in terms of forming the committee and getting it moving, working with the district and whoever else we have to work with to get this group together. Just so you know, the youth committee is going to be a representation of resident youth who will essentially have a voice to matters that involve, in fact, and impact them, that they can speak on behalf of representing that segment of the population. So we'll be having more information coming. There's no meeting scheduled until we get that approved, because really a lot of it is reliant on whether or not we can get that taken care of. So that's all I have.
All right. Thank you very much, Debbie. You had an update for our homeless
Yes.
task force.
Yes. Unfortunately, Kelly could not make it today, and Jason, but you wanted to share January 16th at 1 p.m. is our next homelessness task force meeting, if you wanted to join us. Also, December the 4th is going to be the Homelessness 101, which is a fantastic training. It's at 6 o'clock.
What's that date for the
Homeless
training?
101, December the 4th at 6 p.m. So mark that down. If you want more information, I will be sending that out to the collaborative members, and then with that flyer information. But December the 4th at 6 o'clock is the Homelessness 101.
Okay, great.
All right, we have Peter Hernandez here for our health and wellness. Move more, eat healthy.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just to share a little bit about what happened during our previous health and wellness subcommittee meeting. So we did actually invite the organization called Advance OC, and they were actually able to share about a data source that's available completely free and online, where partners and anyone that wants to access social progress indexes and the health equity map of Orange County. And so what was really great about their presentation was that they actually demonstrated to all of our committee partners how they could explore all of the different statistics and information available on their site. And so I know during this quarterly health and wellness challenge, we've really been focusing on mental health and really trying to not only address the stigma associated with mental health, but empower individuals from the city of Fullerton to engage in mindfulness practices. And so during the meeting, they were actually able to empower community members how to utilize this resource to explore the different mental health trends that are available in the city of Fullerton. And so this is a great resource to everyone that was shared to the committee. And with that said, we are continuing with our quarterly health and wellness challenge. For those of you who are not aware, every 4 months, we do launch a quarterly health and wellness challenge to just create excitement about health and well-being. And so with this challenge, the Move More Mindfulness Challenge, will be ending at the end of December, and we are continuing to offer a $100 gift card. So if you know any individual that's interested in participating, we do have flyers in the back. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. And to wrap up our subcommittee reports, we have Daniela Arbiza for our early childhood subcommittee. Arbizzi? Arbizzi. My apologies. I have Ferrucci, so that never gets pronounced right.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniela Arbizzi. I'm Assistant Director for the Educational Services over the Fullerton School District. I'm overseeing the preschool early learning programs, and I never spoke about it, but just to give you a little background, we serve almost 300 children. It's a free program. We have 12 preschool programs across the Fullerton School District located in various campuses. And again, our program enhances inclusion, and all our preschool programs are fully inclusive with children with special needs. So I just want to throw it out there because our subcommittee meetings, it will be great if you want to join to share with our partners the resources you might have, as our preschool program is looking at the whole child. So it's not just for students, but it's for families. So we offer all kinds of support to families. So if you'd like to join, our next meeting will be in January 22nd at 1 p.m. It will be virtual. And when it comes closer, I will provide you with the Zoom link. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, we have just a couple minutes for member announcements. I know you have one.
Wonderful, thank you so much.
My pleasure. Here you go.
Oh, and I was just thinking, most everybody here, I'm gonna be purchasing a book for the Women's Club of Fullerton.
Yes.
So it's not gonna come out of my pocket, it's going to, it's going, the Women's Club is actually going to pay for it. So there's a good thing. Anyway, the Women's Leadership Forum is November 29th at the Coyote Hills Golf Club and it begins at 5:00 p.m. November 29th, and that's a Wednesday evening, and it honors women in our community who have advanced and have excelled in various ways in nonprofit or social impact organizations, or business or community and other things. So it's really a wonderful event. It's free. Come, you'll have fun. Thank you.
My pleasure. Any other? All right, here we go.
Hi everyone, my name is Jennifer Dominguez, Community Relations Specialist for CalOptima Health. If you don't know who we are, we administer the Medi-Cal benefits here in Orange County. So I do have some updates.
Government contract, right?
Government, correct. So if you've been hearing our board meetings, we did get approved to distribute Narcan. We're actually going to have a Narcan distribution event, and the tag of it is Drive to Revive, Saving Lives One Spray at a Time. So it'll take place on Saturday, December 2nd at our building in Orange from 9 a.m. to noon. And this event will be open to CalOptima Health members and the community. So we will have a presentation in English, Spanish, and Vietnamese, but also they will also learn what is Narcan, how to use it, and then also get the opportunity to take Narcan back home. I do have the flyer available PDF. It just got approved. So if you like the flyer, feel free to see me afterwards. And then second, with Medi-Cal, there's always updates. If you've been hearing about the Medi-Cal expansion that's happening January 1st, 2024, which means that right now for undocumented, it's under the age of 26 and 50 plus. And January 1st, 2024, it'll expand to the ages 26 to 49, which means everyone. Of course, they still have to meet the requirements, but they'll be able to be eligible for full scope Medi-Cal. So please be sure to share that information. And if you know anyone that's interested in applying for Medi-Cal, look into social services agency office, and there's also other community partners that can assist with the application as well.
All right, here we go.
Hello, I'm Jennifer. I'm here from High Hopes Counseling. We are a community benefit organization. Anyway, we do reduced fee therapy services, but I want to tell you guys about free stuff though. We do free group therapy, and we have ongoing from October, November, December. On Tuesday nights at 6:30, we do parenting into adulthood. So basically parenting your adult children and how to deal with that. That's kind of a big deal. I've got 2 at home and it's overwhelming, stressful. And then we also have a new group starting next month, a grief group. Probably. We have a grief group that's going to be coming. So if you have dealt with grief and you want to be in a collaborative, situation and be able to share your experiences, we're going to be opening that up also next month, probably. Our website has it in the events section. So if we have cards back there. If you want to see our free events, you're welcome to come and check us out. So.
And any other announcements? There we go.
Okay, Faith, Father Dennis Chris from St. Philip and Easy Parish. We have 2 people here also from our parish. The Maribel Alvarado, who's our head of the faith formation, and there's activities here this fire that we're going to have a Christmas boutique to support our the faith formation program. And then also Alyssa Adams from the Filipino community there at our parish. And she, Maribel is the head of the faith formation leader, and she's going to be in the parish office heading the calendar for I think we're having a bit of a transition in terms of personnel, and so actually she's going to be fairly important for various events over in our parish. We'll be going through Alyssa. And the things that are going on, that of course we have Thanksgiving, and we'll have a food distribution for Thanksgiving, the weekend before Thanksgiving. And then actually December is a very big thing for all people, but really in the Hispanic community, and we are from Southwest Fullerton, which is heavily Hispanic, that between the Guadalupe Novena, which is basically the first half of December, and then the Posadas, as it were, that follow another novena basically just before Christmas. It's going to be a pretty hopping place during December, and we'll have things for you there down to put into the Fullerton Collaborative Center. But there's going to be a lot of things going on. Do you want to say something?
I have a question regarding the grief services. Are they available in Spanish as well?
No, and that's a goal of ours, to be able to start offering not just our group therapy in Spanish, but also be able to have our individual sessions in Spanish at some point. That's the goal. We're working on that. Yeah. We do have a translator right now, but that would mean a translator would be in session and with you. So like right now, the individual session, then you have that person in the room with you, which is, not everyone likes that. So in a perfect world, we'd have some Spanish speaking, graduate students to help us with that, so we're working on it.
That is a major need, especially after COVID. We have a lot of our Hispanic community going through this process, and unfortunately, because of the language barrier, it's been difficult to assist them.
And it feels like a lot of people who speak Spanish don't go into that field. It feels like they're not the ones that are reaching out to us for because we deal with graduate students, so it just feels like we need more people who speak other languages who want to become therapists, basically. So, yeah.
Okay, I just want to share with you really quick. I have more flyers. This event is to fundraise for our Vacation Bible School summer program that we are able to provide for the children free of cost. So every little help. So if you know any vendors that would like to participate, they're welcome to join us, and they can reach out to me for more details. And also, if you would like to stop by and get your Christmas shopping, or we will have tamales also. And one of the biggest tradition is to pre-order tamales for Thanksgiving, so you don't have to cook. They're delicious.
I will go just for the tamales. Okay, everybody, we're a little over time, so we're gonna get going. If you have more to share, we have the room till 4 o'clock, so please take advantage and collaborate with each other. I hope you have an amazing, amazing Thanksgiving, and we will see you next month. And don't forget to buy a book.
So Matador's doing